Hello and welcome to Agents of Nonprofit. My name is Alexander Lapa, and I'm here to speak with everyday superheroes helping nonprofits. Joining me today is Maggie Kane to talk about a particular and interesting way of doing restaurants in Raleigh. Maggie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Alex.
So, for people who are hearing you for the very first time, could you explain a bit about what you are, what you do? What is it that we're
Sure.
going to talk about today?
How long do you have? No, so I'm Maggie. I am the executive director and founder of A Place at the Table. A Place at the Table is Raleigh, North Carolina's first pay what you can restaurant. And that sounds unusual. We know it is, and it works. So really excited to talk about this pay what you can restaurant that is in downtown Raleigh, where all are welcome.
So, yeah, I've heard of similar concepts, pay as you can, for other types of services.
Yeah.
The first time I was ever exposed to it was when I was in New York City, and an old gentleman came by in a car that kind of looked like a taxi, but wasn't quite a taxi. And he was
Yeah.
basically going around offering people lifts, that people who appeared to need a lift. And he was exactly doing that. He says, listen, I'll take you wherever you want to go. Just pay me what you think is fair. And I noticed by that method, I think we paid a lot more than if we would have normally taken a taxi, because
Wow.
we felt that he was just being kind, generous, honest, and genuine. And we just felt it was a great experience. So we wanted to contribute more than we actually would, save probably a lot of money if we took a
Yeah.
regular taxi. But so that was the first time I ever experienced that kind of pay as you go. So how, I guess why? We'll start with the why. Why do it for a restaurant?
Yeah. I absolutely love that story. I've heard of a lot of pay what you can concepts, but I've not heard of that with taxi services. So I think that's awesome. So a place table, I'm going to back this up a little bit and just give you kind of, have everyone visualize what a place table is if that's okay.
Sure.
So I think it's always super helpful when explaining because it's so confusing. But picture walking into a normal restaurant, a restaurant that many of us would have the opportunity to go to, a cafe, coffee shop like restaurant. You smell really good food. You see lots of folks walking around. You hear good music. You see fun photos on the wall. It's only until you get up to the register that it seems to look a little different than a normal restaurant that you would go into. That's when you start to see the pay what you can concept. You see the mission statement posted. You see folks that are running around with volunteer name tags. So all of our prices on the menu. So you see these full menu boards full of menu items. So all the prices on the menu, whether you get a vanilla latte or you get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, all of the menu prices are suggested. So people can choose to pay that price. You can pay more and pay it forward for someone else who can't afford their meal. You can pay less. We know that some weeks are harder than others and all you can afford is less. If you can't pay less, you can also volunteer with us. So we see lots of folks that are volunteering with us every day for their meal. And then we also feed families for free. So we feed families that just need that extra help with that extra meal and a place to come and get a dignified meal with their family. Our mission is community and good food for all, regardless of means. So we use good food as a tool towards creating community. And so we're a little different in that too, that we do say we're fighting insecurity. So we're fighting food insecurity. So we're feeding a lot of people every day, anywhere from 200 to 250 people a day who need a meal. But we're also fighting community insecurity, providing a place for so many people to belong and feel a part of and come together. And so you see folks from all different walks of life who are volunteering together, who are eating together, who are chatting at the door. It's just this really neat community spot where really all are welcome. And there's this beautiful blend of all different types of folks from different places in there.
That sounds awesome. Just I can hear also the passion in your voice too, which is lovely to hear. So a whole bunch of questions then.
I really love my job, if you can't tell.
So you said, so there is a menu and it's suggested prices. So like, you have, I guess, is there any particular cuisine, first of all, I guess? Or is it local food?
Sure.
Is it a particular countries type food?
Great question. Yeah, great question. So we are just a local spot. So we have a staff of 25, where the staff make all of the product, make all the coffee, all of that. So, everything is chef prepared, made to order, with using as many local ingredients as possible. So we work with a local city farm, where we get all of our produce, veggies, things like that. We work with a produce company nearby where we get our fruits and vegetables and other things. We have a local coffee company that roasts down the street from us. And so we work with them for our coffee, espresso, and just different coffee products. And so we try to source as local as possible, knowing that's not our number one mission. But we do have, I think the other point to note is that we do have a whole team of culinary experts who know what they're doing, are chef, culinary trained and highly experienced. And so they just make, everything they make is incredible, from all the breakfast we have. So you can come in and get waffles, bacon, biscuits, huevos rancheros, things like grit bowls, things like that. But then we also have lunch, sandwiches, soups, salads. Yesterday we had a special of a baked ziti. We do red beans and rice. So we'll have a lot of specials that are on the menu as well, where our team can put a little twang in there. So, in general, it is a breakfast and lunch spot with traditional breakfast and lunch items.
Okay. And I'm curious because sometimes when you go local for food sources, it tends to be also seasonal. In that case, where winter you might have different menu than summer, just because there's different produce and food that is made. So is that also the case? Does your menu change over the course of the year?
Definitely. We have a seasonal menu that rotates. So right now we have, we're using. We're using peaches for a lot of our things. We're about to move into apples. So, we definitely follow a traditional season in North Carolina.
Okay. And you said, so the prices there are prices that are listed and there are suggested. So I imagine there is how does that transaction work?
Sure.
Did they get an invoice and they decide, I don't feel like paying that, and they just put in their own amount? Like usually when you get, as a customer at a restaurant, the amount of the total is given to you, and you put in, of course, just the tip amount, and then you pay your credit card or whatnot. So how does the logistics work in terms of, do you give the person the ability to type in their own amount when they check out?
Great question. We have a cashier, so we have our team runs the register, and we'll say we use the same spiel every day, every time, every day, every transaction. Your suggested price is, $10.50, right? Would you like to pay that less or volunteer for your meal today? And so we do have to say it out loud. We wish that wasn't the case. So we don't have a point of sale system that allows for someone to put it in themselves, but if they want to pay more, that's a tip. So if they do say, I want to pay more, they then get to turn it around. And so a tip is a donation, and it goes right back into paying it forward.
Okay. So there's just entering amounts. You're not entering like an amount and a percentage for a tip. It's just if it's $10.50 and I pay $20, that means $9.50 is the tip. That's considered a donation, and I'm putting in the number, or I'm telling you the number of $20.
Yep, exactly. Yep, okay. Either one.
Then how does that pay it forward work? You mentioned that a couple times.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So folks can pay it forward for a full meal and buy someone else's meal. We ask that, that suggested donation is a $10 donation. So on average to get someone a full meal, so they can pay it forward and add $10. We have these things called place cards, and they are full meal cards that get handed out around the community. They go to about 20 other nonprofits that we partner with. So folks can buy a place card, which is an actual, again, a free meal for someone. And then we'll give those out, or they can take them and hand it out to folks. If they don't want to actually buy a full meal and they don't specifically state that, they can just tip. Our staff make a living wage, so we don't take tips. So they could just tip, add that 20%, $5 onto whatever they have. And so that tip will go right back into paying it forward for other people.
Okay. And you said the next option is to volunteer. So what does that look like? If I want to contribute back, I don't have the financial means to. Do I start scrubbing dishes on the spot? Do I come back at a later time? How does that work?
Yeah. Totally, totally. We see about 100 people a day volunteering for their meal. So when you get there, if you're looking to volunteer, you'll just check in. We have a check-in station. And then our team will kind of list out the options that we need at the time. Hey, or they'll first ask you if you want to eat first or volunteer first. If you want to eat first, cool. Like go eat, come back. If you want to volunteer first, they'll say, hey, we've got we have a need for someone in this room. We have a need for someone to be door greeter. We have a need for someone who can bus tables, or run coffees to tables. And so our team will put folks in a position and they'll volunteer with us. We ask you stay an hour, but sometimes folks stay less, sometimes folks stay more. So, we'll find a place for you for sure. And it's just really fun. It's a really great place to volunteer, and everyone is having fun together. So we see a lot of times people want to stay longer.
You mentioned an hour to volunteer. Is that based on a price, or just regardless of what if I have a $20 or $30 meal, am I expected to spend longer than an hour, or is it more or less an hour? And if you want to provide more time,
hour. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. No, more or less an hour.
Okay. That's an interesting concept. I never thought about that one because you hear the proverbial when you forget your credit card or your payment options, you have to go into the kitchen and start scrubbing dishes. That's kind of a spin on it, but it's, seems to be a way that people almost want to do that. Like they feel good about it because they feel like they're contributing. And to the point that you mentioned, if they want to even spend longer than that, that's really a testament to show that they are benefiting in some way from this. Like they are
Exactly. Exactly. No, we really see that we're a hand up versus hand out, and people want to be there. They want to volunteer. They want to meet other people. They want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And so we find that most people want to volunteer.
So I have to ask the question because, and I don't give away details, but in terms of profitability, would you say like where do you land on that? Like, because it's, I guess, hard to predict revenues, do projections and whatnot, because it's very day to day. How would you gate how your operation works as opposed to a traditional restaurant?
So we make no money basically. And honestly, we always say it's funny because I've talked to other restaurant friends and they're like, we're kind of a nonprofit too. Restaurants, it is hard to make money in a restaurant. But especially for us who's giving away so much money. We also pay a livable wage to our employees. We also do health insurance, retirement benefits, things like that. So we add on these other things that make it harder to really generate enough revenue in the cafe to cover those things. So we have to fundraise a lot on top of what we're doing. So prior to the pandemic, we saw, I would say about 60% of our budget came from cafe revenue. So that's you buying a coffee and coming in. 40% of it was fundraised. And now we fundraise about 80% of our budget for multiple reasons. One being we're feeding so many more people. But also we have just every year increased the things that we're doing, whether that be programs, whether that be things for our staff. So we are currently fundraising a significant amount of money to make sure the cafe runs. And we another number I'll throw at you is each day in the cafe, we probably see about 60% of folks who are getting either a volunteer meal, a family meal, or a paid blessed meal. And then 40% of it is paying customers that are coming in.
Okay,
so you can do all the numbers in your head, do the math in your head.
Yep. So 80% fundraising. That means not only you're not making money, you technically are losing money from cafe revenue at the moment. So you do the fundraising part to keep going. So how does fundraising then work? How do you do you do normal type of marketing that a nonprofit would do, or do you have something specific or an element or a particular angle that you prefer or find works really well for your particular organization?
Definitely. We always say it's individuals. So we say fundraising, making friends that make the table happen every day. So that's a significant portion of our fundraising is fundraising of individuals folks that give $10 a week, or folks that give $10,000 a year. That's probably the biggest way that we generate fundraising dollars. We also have a huge event, so we generate about 200K at a big event that we do each year. So event-based fundraising, and then we've got corporate partners as well. So corporate, we partner with a lot of corporate sponsors and corporate companies that give us 20K or 50K, things like that. But significant portion is individuals.
So what does that event look like? It's a yearly event that you have?
Yeah. So we do 2 events a year. And we do a big fundraising event, the one I'm talking about, where we have about 400 or 500 people come, and we have an auction, we have food and drinks, and we just have a really, really good time, a giant party at the end of the year. And then mid-year, we do a pay what you can food truck rodeo. So we generate some funds there. It's not our big fundraiser. It's more of a fundraiser, a way to bring people together. So we've got about 8 or 9 food trucks that come out, and then lots of folks, and people pay what they can. And so it's a great community event, 800 or 900 people that come out. And so that definitely generates some funds, but definitely not as much as our big event in the fall or winter does.
Okay. And then, so you said mostly single fundraisers, but tell me more about the corporate sponsorships. I mean, I saw on their website, you've got quite a few. I'm curious to know your strategy for reaching out to them, for building relationships with them, because that's always a really good way of getting certain money, and it seems to be very stable as well. So can you explain a bit more about how you reached out to these corporate sponsors, and how do you maintain a relationship with them?
Sure, definitely. So we have a lot of corporate partners. We invite them first to come into the cafe and see it and eat a meal with us. And then I think next steps with that is so invite them to come eat with us in the cafe, and then going out and maybe seeing what they do, right? And then asking, getting them involved in catering. So being able to cater from us as a restaurant, inviting them to our food truck rodeo and our fundraiser. And then sending over and or meeting with them with the sponsorship package. So getting them to know more about ways to get involved. And so truly everything we do is all about building relationships. So it's first and foremost like building relationships with whoever it is, whether it's an individual or corporate, but then giving them tangible ways to help. So that's eating with us, catering with us, and or maybe volunteering with us. We don't have as many large group and large scale volunteer opportunities, but we still do find that that corporate companies want to come in on small teams and volunteer with us. And then again, continuing that relationship to eventually ask for a larger donation. Some of these corporate clients, as with many of your podcasters, I'm sure apply to grants. So some of these corporate partners have grant processes that we end up applying for as well.
Just wanted to mention as a footnote to the listeners. So Maggie is really busy these days, and she agreed to meet with us. But the idea is that she's outside now because she didn't want to be inside the restaurant. So you might hear a bit of wind or background noise, and I apologize for that. This is unfortunately the best time we had to do this. So sorry if the audio quality is a bit less or poorer than usual, but I felt that this conversation was really awesome to have, and I really wanted to have it. So here we are. Thank you again, Maggie. Okay, corporate sponsors then. So is there any particular type of corporate sponsor that you find resonates? Like, does your message resonate with certain types of corporate sponsorships, or is there like from technology to Medicare to finance? Like, is there any more local? Is it more international? I'm curious to know the type of corporate sponsorship you attract.
Definitely more local for sure. I would say there's probably not a certain field. It's just depending on kind of what their funding, what their funding specialties are. Their funding would be the word, like what they decide to fund that year. So there are definitely companies that food insecurity is not their thing, and that's cool. Like we want other people to have funding too. The nonprofits have funding too. So, but we do find that there's definitely a variety of organizations and companies that will support a place at the table. So that's awesome. But more local, and we haven't really touched into the international market yet.
Okay. And then in terms of general partnerships, so not sponsors necessarily, but people who want to donate something, or like even your food sources, for example, you said most of it tends to be local, down the street, even if possible. Like, how do you build those kinds of partnerships and relationships to be able to maintain what you do? And do you have like backups in case something happens with them? I'm curious about the logistics of behind the scenes of the food management. I would imagine that you would like I have, especially in technology, I have backups of everything, right? If my laptop blows up, I have a backup laptop. If my microphone blows up, I have a backup laptop. I'm just applying that same kind of strategy to the restaurant industry in that if for some reason one of your sources of food is not able to provide the amount that you need at one particular moment, you can go to a second one that's ready to go and provide that extra additional food or
Sure.
something.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah, absolutely. Also, we can just go to any grocery store. You know,
Okay.
we are very fortunate. I mean, we like to support as local as possible, but we also know that we don't want to mission creep on other missions. Like our main mission is not like local farmers. So while it's beautiful, we
Mm,
want to do it as much as we can. Our main mission is community and food. So we're going to make sure that we have that food to serve. So if we have to go to Publix, we're going to go to Publix.
gotcha.
We're just like most restaurants, we shop at Sam's. So there is no shortage of food over here.
Right.
Or like if it, there was a time where there was an egg shortage, right? So we just ran out of eggs, and that just happens. But we have a variety of things that, there's always going to be some sort of option because that's important to us. I would say the restaurant industry, things like that, nothing scares us anymore. We've seen it all, and we still have so much more to see. Like it's every day, the restaurant industry, and people say this about nonprofits too, but then you have a nonprofit and a restaurant, like there is a crisis every day, and we just roll with it. You gotta let it just roll off your back.
I'm curious to know one of your biggest challenges. Actually, before we start, how long has it been now since Table has been in operation?
Table has been here. We opened in January of 2018, so 6.5 years. It's wild, almost 7.
That's awesome. So you must have seen, like you said, a lot of challenges along the way. I was wondering if you could share one of your larger challenges that comes to mind.
Yes. I've seen so many challenges. I mean, I would say most of the challenges are HR related and because it's people, right? Like it's people. You're dealing with people's lives. I would say dealing with HR, but not really, is in 2018 when we opened, we didn't have money. So we had 6 paid staff running this restaurant. And it was, all of us worked way too many hours. And so now we have 26 staff. I think I said 25 early, but it really is 26 to 28. So it's wild how many people it takes to run this place. So I think the challenge was really just not having money and having to navigate a new situation. I think even, I mean, I'll back this up even further than that. In 2015, 2016, we were building the concept of the place at the table and couldn't find a location. And we had no money. So if you don't have money, you can't find a location. And you can't find a location if you don't have money. I mean, it was this like, or you can't find money without a location. So we were just stuck in this cycle. And folks didn't want to rent to us. They thought we would be a place where people loitered and they didn't want poor people in their space. So having to kind of fight that whole, like, that was a challenge as well. Fighting what is a place at the table? How do we welcome everyone into this new concept? So that's been a challenge. I mean, do you want me to list off the challenges yesterday? The plumbing, the ice machine, I could go on. But I think probably the overall one is proving the concept of this like weird concept, and then also just HR, because it's people's lives.
So proving the concept, you mentioned it's the first one in Raleigh, but I imagine it's not the first one in the US at all. Is there any inspiration that you took from another organization, a model that you said, okay, this can work. Maybe we'll adjust it to, the conditions in Raleigh, but the idea is it's a model that we didn't have to create from the beginning because it can work. I've seen it work in place X.
Yeah. Yes. So absolutely. We started researching back in 2015, we were getting to know a lot of different things that were happening here in Raleigh, and we saw, really great place for people with money, really great place for people without money, but we didn't see a place that welcomed everyone together. So in that moment, we started researching. We found the pay what you can system. We found the closest one, which was in Boone, North Carolina, and we went to visit our friends there, our now friends there. So Farm Cafe, feed all regardless of means, and we went to visit them. We learned from them. We asked advice. And they have been our mentors all along the way. So their Pay What You Can restaurant in Boone, North Carolina has been there for over 10 years. And So just such a great model of how this works. And the cool thing is there, it's so different than a place at the table. And that's, it works for, like, they're all different. All the Pay What You Can cafes across the country are different. They work in the specific places they are. So, I think that's what's really neat. So, there are definitely great models of this around the country, and we're just lucky to kind of, work alongside them and do this work and then share what's working, what's not working, things like that.
So I'll go back to my original question, which I think you just touched upon right now, is the why. Why do this?
Sure.
What was your main motivation to do it? And yeah, why?
Yeah, for sure. So the why. So about at this point, like 15 years ago, I was working in homelessness. So I was working with people who are on the street, and just got to know their stories and who they were and, what they wanted and what existed here. And so I got to know them, and I would eat in soup kitchens with folks, just getting to know them more, and saw that the soup kitchen, while it's amazing and it feeds a ton of people, it was so different than my life experience where I can spend hours with people. I can choose what I want on a menu. So I started taking folks out for meals, and I started seeing that they wanted to go to places with a lot of choice and a lot of food. So I asked my friend John, this was back in 2014, I said, John, this is a restaurant called Golden Corral. We've come to Golden Corral multiple times now. Why? Is it because you're hungry? Is it because there's a lot of choice? And he said, no, Maggie. I mean, it's not because I'm hungry specifically. He said, I've chosen this place twice now for two reasons. One, I have choice here. So it goes back to that choice. I get to choose if I want a waffle or if I want a steak. And then he said, two, I feel seen here. He said, people treat me and ignore me every single day. Living in poverty has been so humiliating and undignified. He said, here, people acknowledge me. They see me. They say hello as I'm walking in. They greet me. They come around and ask if I need a refill. He said, it matters. I feel seen here. So that was that mic drop moment for me where I said, we've got to create a place where people have choice and people feel seen. That's when I started researching. I found the Pay What You Can system and said, let's bring this. If this can work in other places, it can certainly work in Raleigh too.
That's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking that.
And you do operate like a typical nonprofit, right? You are registered as a nonprofit. You have a board of directors. Like, is there any?
We are, yes. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We have a board. We have volunteers. We have all the things.
Okay. I'm curious if there's anything special or unique or different about your board, just because it's a different concept in general. It's still an overall novel concept.
Sure.
Is there any particular things that you looked for in a board that you would say or specific to this particular type of operation?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we have restaurateurs on our board who know how to run restaurants. So that's been helpful. But no, I mean, we're pretty standard, just like any other nonprofit.
Okay. I read, I think somewhere as well, not only can people eat into your restaurant, but they also can take out, or do you deliver as well? Or is it usually you expect people to come into the restaurant to eat?
Nope. We ask you come into the restaurant. We deliver catering, but we really, we need you to come into the restaurant. So you're a part of our mission.
Okay. And is this a model that you hope to expand? Is this something that you're now in your one location? Is this a franchisable model? I don't know what the right word would be for a nonprofit, but
Sure.
The idea is are you hoping to expand at some point or just get bigger in that one particular location or go to multiple locations? What's your future plans for growth?
Totally. We get asked this all the time, and no, we are not going to open another place at table. We really feel that it works in downtown Raleigh. We built the community. We friend raise. We have built this, and it has worked here. And so who are we to say what is going to work in Durham, right? So we feel that in Durham, North Carolina, which is 30 minutes from Raleigh. So we really feel like this is it. We're one and done because it's the community that's holding this beautiful place. And but what the thing is just because we're not going to be the ones that go open it 30 minutes away from here, there's someone that should do this, and you guys can work with us. You can, we'll give you all the tools that you need, and we'll help you do it. And so I think, that's where we're moving forward of, let's help other cafes open, just like Farm Cafe and Boone helped us. and make it as authentic and real as it needs to be in their own town. We know all the people in Raleigh, we know the nonprofit people, we know the restaurant people. So folks in Durham know those people. So use the tools that we have, that we use to get open, and we'll help you do it.
That sounds like definitely something like a playbook that you could write if you wanted to, like some kind of guidebook or playbook. The idea is that, here's the
toolkit.
That toolkit. That's maybe the right word for it. Is that something you plan to do it, or is it more a conversation you think you would have with an organization or someone that wants to reproduce it? Which one would you prefer working with, the toolkit model or a conversation model?
Right now, we're doing the conversation model. I think there's the best of both worlds. I think it's you give folks a toolkit, you have them read it, you have them go through it with their team, and then you set up conversations. So I think there's a combo, because there's definitely things you want to be able to talk about with, but there's a standard practice that works that folks could learn from just reading a manual about it, and then you can follow up with that conversation.
So aside from offering that at some point in the future, something a little more concrete as a toolkit, what other plans do you have for the future? Like what would you like to see, or where would you like to see a place at the table in the next couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just launched the travel and table. So we launched our food truck. So that's been awesome. So we'll see our food truck on the road. We hope to do a lot of outreach events and a lot of catering events, and really get to know the community on a larger scale. So the food truck will be all over the place, which we're really excited about. And we just hope to continue to serve folks in downtown Raleigh and be a place for so many. We see anywhere from 5 to 10 new people a day. So it's exciting to be there and have the brick and mortar where folks can really come in and be a part of what we're doing every day. So we're excited to meet new people. We're excited to keep doing outreach. We're excited to keep expanding our mission. So I think there's a lot of goodness to come.
Awesome. Anything else we wanted to leave the audience with before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I just hope if anyone is ever in downtown Raleigh, come visit us at A Place at the Table. Our food is phenomenal, and I can say that because I don't cook. So come see us, come be a part. You can also follow us on social media, and hopefully, we meet some of y'all.
Do you mind sharing some of your, because I know, of course, it's a physical location, people can come and visit. We'll put the address in the show notes. Is there any other way that they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. As I said, our social media is Table Raleigh. And then A Place at the Table Raleigh on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. So you can check us out there and follow along.
Maggie, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's it for today. I'm Alexander Lapa, and I hope you join me again in the next Agents of Nonprofit.